Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is so wonderful to see you here today. My name is Lara Zeeland, and I am the Vice President for the Board of Directors for 826 Michigan. And I wanted to take a couple minutes to explain a little bit about the focus for this important conversation today. Many of you are fully aware of the crippling effect the health pandemic, the COVID pandemic, has had in so many areas of our lives. This is true for businesses, this is true for our mental health, and this is of course true for nonprofits and education, which is exactly the space that 826 Michigan occupies. The data tells us that those who had the greatest need before the pandemic are disproportionately impacted by this crisis. And the programs like 826 Michigan's that inspire creativity and spark imagination are needed now more than ever. I wanted to take a couple minutes and explain how, as Vice President, I have been so inspired and impressed watching Naimah and the staff of 826 Michigan pivot and shift during this unprecedented time. With creativity and ingenuity, they've taken the connection and the sparkle of all 826 Michigan's in-person programs and made them all virtual, all while keeping the magic of 826 Michigan alive and well. It has been truly a tremendous accomplishment and an amazing thing to witness. So it is my hope today that you will listen with an open heart and an open mind as Naimah tells you all more about what they've done, the big shifts that they've had during this time. And I hope that you will consider how you might continue to support this incredible work. We are truly grateful for you, for your presence today, and for your belief in 826 Michigan. And with that said, it is my delight to turn it over to Naimah, who will tell us more.
Thank you so much, Lara, and welcome to all of our partners and allies who are listening to this recording. We are so very grateful for the opportunity and privilege to tell you a little bit about what is happening at 826 Michigan. Just like we would normally do at a staff meeting or a board meeting, it really felt important to start this meeting with a little bit of youth writing to center us in the reason that we are all connected to this wonderful organization. So here's some 2020 writing that came out of one of our spring programs, the Young Authors Book Project. It says, "You can feel the peace because if you close your eyes, all you hear is the sound of the lake and the winds that fly on your face. It's what everyone would want for some minutes." And I think we all are wishing and hoping for moments of peace like this. And so this is from one of our young authors, Kijana Masuka, and she's 17 and she lives in Ypsilanti. And so, as we think about the power and the potential of our students' words, we also have to think about how the pandemic, how protests, how politics is impacting students and their ability to share those words. As Laura said, since March, students of color and their families have been impacted more deeply by COVID-19. According to research, people of color have had a death rate that's triple that of non-people of color. For our target audience, that means that they are experiencing increasing degrees of grief and loss and isolation. And students who are witnessing traumatizing acts of hate and racial unrest and political discord, all of these things are disrupting their sense of safety. In addition to these things, there are barriers to education that have surfaced and have been illuminated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Students who live with essential workers may not have a caregiver that can be present during the school day. And if they are learning virtually, this can be really difficult for them to continue to be engaged with the learning that's happening every day. Additionally, the digital divide and the technology access gap was already wide, but it's now magnified. In districts with the highest rates of students of color, nearly 1 in 4 children lack digital access. And to be clear, Access also includes technology competency. So even if you live in a district where your school distributed laptops or Chromebooks or something of that nature, you may not be in a home where someone can actually help you manipulate the technology to do what it needs to do, which also creates a gap, which has been termed COVID-19 learning loss. And this gap is even more severe than the normal summer slide that students experience during summer break. It actually amounts to about 6 months of academic learning loss. You know, so it's very, very clear that students need even more opportunities to unpack their thinking and to express their voices. And this powerful picture from this year's Young Authors Book Project called Because No One Else Could Do It, to me, really clearly depicts what some of our students might be feeling inside, even if they're not using their words to say so. But because of financial support and advocacy for 826 Michigan from folks like you, we were able to rapidly meet young authors where they are and create those very opportunities for students to process the world around them. Thank you. Really quickly, I wanted to run through this timeline to show you sort of what we've been up to since our worlds turned upside down in March. So in the early stages of COVID-19, when shelter-in-place orders were being rolled out, 826 Michigan began to redesign our programs and our entire portfolio in order to write with students across any distance. So in April, we began first by taking an unusual approach for us, which was more of like a caseload or a caseworker, social worker approach, where we were just picking up the phones and checking on our families. And once we did that and we were able to make contact with our partners in the community, as well as our students and their families, we began to customize our support for both of those audiences. So in April, Dr. Blatch, who is our fictitious antagonizing editor at 826 Michigan that visits many of our field trip programs and brings delight and joy and giggles to many, many, many young authors. Dr. Blatch took YouTube by storm, and we launched a new program called the Dr. Blatch Writing Challenge, which was an interactive video prompt writing program where students could respond to the prompts and send them back to us and get a response from Dr. Blatch at the end of the week. In May, we launched a program called Lunch Poems, where teachers who were struggling to rapidly create engaging content could bring 826 Michigan in, Zoom us into their class to help inspire students to explore the wonder of poetry over lunch. In June, we launched a different kind of program that included adults and students called Write With Us. And this was a community conversation and a collaborative writing experience that centered on racial equality and social justice. We also at that time began to produce paper-based writing kits that were distributed to students who were offline and not able to continue their learning because of the digital divide. In June, our virtual learning lab went live. And this is the portfolio name for all of our other programs. They fall into the virtual learning lab, whether it be field trips or workshops. And this is so that our communities could understand how we were making all of the in-person programs available online. So we modified in-person after school tutoring, and it became online learning support. And we did that to support students' homework completion and to reduce their learning loss. In July, we started to pilot and launch our field trips with teacher support. So we tested and launched field trips with 2 summer school partners, and we co-produced something called Ed Camps, which provided best practices and professional development for teachers who were new to being in the online space. Finally, this fall, all of our programs are fully remote. With a weekly capacity of about 260 students, 826 Michigan is ready to help our teachers and our students prioritize writing and creative expression online with paper-based programs or Write Now kits also available for students who prefer not to be online. So our transition to distance learning has been successful. And again, thank you for making it possible. Because of our partnership, we together have been able to serve 404 students online since the spring. 123 hours of synchronous programming, 10 video prompts, 11 classroom programs delivered. One young author's book project came out in this COVID season. We published 5 chat books. We've hosted 13 field trips. And in the last 90 days, this number has gone up since I made this presentation. We've onboarded 100 new volunteers. With that work, 100% of our partners say that students are challenged by our programs, that their writing skills have improved after an engagement with 826. And we've even had outside evaluators take a look at our programming and share with us some really impactful news, which is that students who've participated in our summer programs had experienced no learning loss. 84% of those students maintained their literacy levels, and 11% of them showed growth. So thank you. Thank you for making this possible. Through your generosity, we've discovered a number of things. The caring, affirming, whimsical support that is so visibly present in our writing labs does translate online. We've discovered that the reach of our place-based impact can be expanded to students who previously were limited by transportation barriers. In addition to writing, our programs facilitate social emotional learning and individualized attention that is so critical during this difficult time. So essentially, our mission has been activated even more in this moment. And because of that, students can receive support more regularly and with higher intensity. They can use 826 Michigan writing tools and techniques to process the world around them. And they can develop the writing skills that are needed to address big issues like the ones we're facing today. We talked to a couple of our teachers and we asked them what they thought about our programs, those who participated this summer who were new to 826 Michigan. And one said to us, "I wish I had that many adults with me all the time to help facilitate activities like this in my classroom. The program helped my kids to see themselves as published authors, which I think is very impactful in our writing curriculum." So we've looked back and we know what we've done. Here's what we're doing going forward. Our fall programs will remain virtual through December, with potential for hybrid options in January, depending on where we are with COVID and what the school districts decide. Our leadership did think through a broad range of program scenarios, but we decided in May to prioritize student safety and staff safety, and therefore made that difficult decision. Secondly, fall will begin with a focus on homework help to support students so that they can plug into their core curriculum, catch up from the spring, and adjust to new routines. Lastly, we are going to continue to enhance our writing kits and our field trip options in order to hone in on the social emotional support that our students need so very much right now. We're going to continue to encourage our students to use their pen and paper to describe and share what they are witnessing and what they are learning. You know, 826 Michigan imagines a future where students readily access their creativity and confidently stand in the power of their stories. And we are so lucky to have partners and allies like you in our corner for the last 15 years. Each of you has supported this work, and in doing so, you have helped to raise the next generation of writers. But we need your support to continue this work. So, while our impact remains deep and our programs continue to evolve with innovation, the operational aspects of nonprofit management just cannot be denied. This time of health and social crisis has hit us hard financially, and we are grappling with the uncertainty of the fundraising environment of the future. So our back to school season brings increased student need, and we need your help to make sure that those needs are met in a sustainable way. Our back to school fundraising goal is $15,000, and we ask you to invest in our students by continuing to partner with 826 Michigan in one of the following ways. You can help us to replace our old hardware, computer hardware, with updated devices to ensure that our connectivity remains strong in this virtual season. Our goal here is $5,000. You could also help us to produce this year's publication, the Young Authors Book Project. Our goal here is $10,000. Finally, you can do two things. Become a 2021 school year monthly sustaining donor. And if you're already a monthly donor, consider increasing your monthly gift or encourage a friend to join you in changing the relationship that students have with writing. Or you can consider a multi-year gift for your favorite 826 Michigan program. Any of those gifts can be processed at 826michigan/donate. A gift in any of these areas will increase our ability to have some level of certainty in such an uncertain time. (826 Michigan students are the narrators and the historians of this moment. They deserve every opportunity to tell their story. Together, we can align the resources needed for them to write their way through this moment. And we can meet them on the other side of this, ready to send their pages to print, to share their voices with the world. So thank you for joining us and helping to do this work. And finally, to close out, I feel like the words of Aggie, age 13, are most appropriate. And he says, "I don't believe it's too late to change the vision of a dark, depressing world into a blue one." Thank you for your time. I look forward to connecting with you in the future.